There are people who have a small machine running by itself in their garage, generating money while they sleep, while they're at work, while they're just living their normal life. And the strange part is that machine costs them less than what most people spend in a single weekend. It's not just any machine. Most people are looking in the wrong places, while the ones who actually built a real side income found something very specific that almost nobody is paying attention to. After analyzing more than 30 categories of importable machinery over the past few months, I narrowed it down to the ones that are actually worth it in 2026. Some of these are going to surprise you because you probably already wrote off this idea, music, thinking it was too complicated or too expensive. If you only remember one out of the 30, make it the last one. It's the one that completely changes how you see this business. Let's get into it. Before we start, let me introduce myself quickly for anyone who's new here. My name is David, and I've spent 7 years music researching how regular people, without investment funds, without inheritances, without connections, build real extra income. And now I'm going to walk you through all 30 machines organized music into blocks, so it's easy to follow. Block 1, food and drinks. Let's start with the most accessible block on the whole list, music, because food is the business that needs the least convincing. People are already buying food and drinks every single day. The only question is where and from whom. Number 1, Nugget Ice Chewable Flake Ice Machine. This type of chewable ice has become a trend in the United States over the past few years, and a lot of small cafes and restaurants still don't offer it because the big name brand machines are expensive. A compact imported machine costs between $800 and $2,500 for B. How to start? Get one machine and offer it on consignment or monthly rental to 2 or 3 local cafes or restaurants you already know, charging a flat fee for maintenance and ice supply. How to scale? Once you have your first satisfied client, use that as social proof to land Music 5, then 10 more businesses, and with that volume, you can negotiate a better price per machine by buying in bulk directly from the manufacturer. Success strategy. Sell the solved problem, not the machine. A lot of small businesses don't realize that flake ice increases customer satisfaction with cold drinks, so your sales pitch is the end customer experience, not the technology. Number 2, automatic cotton candy machine. There are fully automatic versions that spin and wrap the cotton candy on their own, with no prior experience needed. They cost between $200 and $600 for B. The margin per serving is huge. The special sugar for cotton candy costs music pennies per serving and sells for $3 to $5 at fairs, school events, and weekend farmers markets. How to start? Reach out directly to school fair coordinators, farmers market organizers, and kids party planners in your area. They're the easiest clients to land because they're already running recurring events. How to scale? Once you've mastered one event per weekend, buy a second machine and hire someone you trust, a family member, a neighbor, to run it while you work another event at the same time, doubling your income for that same weekend. Success strategy. Offer unusual colors and flavors, cloud blue cotton candy, strawberry with sprinkles, because in this business, visual differentiation on social media sells almost as much as the product itself. Number 3, retro-style popcorn cart machine. Vintage design popcorn carts get rented out for parties, weddings, and corporate events, and they have the advantage of looking great in photos. A complete imported cart costs between $300 and $900 for, and rents for $100 to $250 per music event. How to start? Put together a small catalog with photos of the cart at different events. You can start with one free event for a friend in exchange for professional photos, and post it in local wedding and event planning groups. How to scale? After the first few months, add combo packages, popcorn plus cotton candy for example, to raise your average ticket per event without needing to find new clients. Success strategy. Work directly with wedding planners in your area and offer them a commission for every event they refer to you. They already have the steady flow of clients that would otherwise take you months to build on your own. Number 4, rolled ice cream machine. This is the one you've probably already seen all over TikTok or Instagram.
They chill the liquid mix on a cold plate and roll it up like an ice cream cigar right in front of the customer. It costs music between £1,200 and $3,000 FOB. How to start? Get a mobile food vendor permit in your county and post up at one single high-traffic spot, a music park, a weekend market, outside a local sports event for several weeks in a row to build a repeat customer music base. How to scale? Film the preparation process in short videos for social media. This product sells itself visually, so every customer who films you is free advertising that brings in the next one. Success strategy. Create seasonal flavor combos, pumpkin in the fall, mint in the winter, so people have a reason to come back every couple of months instead of trying at once and never returning. Number 5, bean-to-cup machine for a small stand. A semi-commercial machine costs between $1,500 and $4,000 FOB. The gross margin on a cup of coffee can top 80% once you subtract the cost of the beans, water, and cup. How to start? Find a spot with steady foot traffic of people who need coffee fast, outside a government office, a small hospital, a gym, and negotiate a fixed spot, even if it's just a few hours a week. How to scale?
Once demand is validated, consider a second selling point at a different time of day, mornings at one spot, afternoons at another, using the same machine if it's portable, or invest in a second unit. Success strategy. A simple loyalty program. Buy 5, get the 6th free, generates repeat customers almost instantly in this business because coffee is a daily habit, not an occasional purchase. Number 6. Ice Pop Paleta Machine. These machines mold water or cream-based ice pops in minutes. They cost between $600 and $1,800 FOB. They work especially well in the hot climates of the southern United States, Texas, Arizona, Florida. How to start? Start selling from home or at a weekend market with traditional flavors that already have proven demand, lemon, mango, tamarind, before experimenting with new flavors. How to scale? Once you have a steady customer base, offer wholesale to small grocery stores or local gas stations, which can resell your ice pops with their own markup. Success strategy. Bet on presentation. Music. Individually wrapped ice pops with your own branded labels sell for a better price than ones that look homemade, even when the recipe is exactly the same. Music. Number 7. Belgian waffle or waffle on a stick machine. It costs music between $150 and $500 FOB for small versions, and between £800 and $2,000 for versions with multiple molds running at once. How to start? Music. Weekend farmers markets are the easiest entry point because they already have foot traffic of people looking for breakfast or a snack. Ask about the cost of a stall space, which tends to be low. How to scale? Pair the waffle with premium toppings, fresh fruit, music, Nutella, whipped cream to raise the sale price without raising the cost much, and consider adding machine number 13 on this list to sell music personalized products to the same crowd. Success strategy. The smell factor matters a lot in this business.
Hey, music! Set up your stand where the smell of freshly made waffles will reach the largest number of people walking nearby. Number 8. Automatic churro machine. It extrudes the dough and fries it and music it in a single step. It costs between $1,000 and $2,500 FOB. It works music great at sporting events and state fairs. How to start? Reach out directly to local sports league organizers, youth soccer, youth baseball, music, because they already have games scheduled all year with parents waiting around with nothing to music eat. How to scale? Negotiate full season contracts instead of one-off events. Many leagues prefer a single fixed music food vendor for the entire season, which gives you predictable income for months. Success strategy: music sell combos, churro plus drink instead of single items. The average ticket goes up and the customer's music buying decision gets simpler. Number 9. Slushy frozen drink dispenser machine. It costs between £500 and $1,500 FOB per unit with 2 to 3 flavors. How to start. This is one of the few food businesses on this list that can run with almost no constant supervision. So, a good music first step is placing it on consignment inside a business that already has foot traffic. Music. A laundromat. A small convenience store, splitting the profits with the business owner. Music. How to scale. Once you've confirmed strong turnover at one location, replicate. Music. The same consignment model in 2 or 3 more businesses of the same type in your area. Success strategy. During hot season, raise the price slightly and cut the flavor selection down to the 2 or 3 best sellers. Simplifying the choice speeds up impulse buying. Music, which is where most of this product's sales come from. Number 10. Roller grill rotating hot dog machine. Almost any small convenience store or gas station could music use one. It costs between $200 and $700 FOB. How to start.
Instead of running the business yourself, sell the machine directly to independent convenience store owners. Not big chains, but family-owned businesses. Music. Explaining the margin they can get selling hot dogs instead of just packaged products. How to scale. Become a recurring supplier of hot dogs and buns to the businesses where you've already placed a machine, generating secondary income from supply, not just from the initial equipment sale. Success strategy. Offer the machine with a small maintenance music contract included for the first few months. That reduces the owner's fear of buying music, something I won't know how to fix later, and closes more sales. Block 2. Light manufacturing. Music at home.
This second block isn't so much about selling food at an event anymore. Music. It's about manufacturing a physical product that you then sell on a recurring basis, often online, without having to stand in front of a customer all day. Number 11. Small CO2. Music. Laser cutter. 40 to 60 watts. This is probably the music most talked about machine in entrepreneurship communities over the past 3 years. It lets you engrave wood, acrylic and leather, music, and make personalized signs, keychains and wedding decor. It costs between music, £400 and $1,200 FOB. How to start. Music. Open an Etsy shop or a simple Facebook page with 5 or 6 base designs, names, dates, popular phrases, and promote them in local wedding, baby shower, and graduation music groups where demand for personalized gifts is constant. How to scale. Once you have steady orders, music, add a second machine or a second shift, often at night after your full-time job, so you don't music have to turn down orders due to lack of time. Success strategy. Charge for the personalization, not the object itself. A generic sign sells for little. Music's here. But that same sign with someone's exact wedding name and date sells for double or more because the customer is paying for the emotional meaning, not the wood. Number 12. Small UV flatbed printer. It lets you music print directly onto objects, mugs, phones, keychains, hats. It costs between $2,500 and $6,000 FOB. How to start. Music. Focus first on one flagship product, personalized mugs for example, and master that before expanding into other objects so you don't overcomplicate your materials inventory in the first month. How to scale. Offer your services to local music businesses that need promotional items with their logo, clinics, gyms, restaurants, which order in larger quantities than an individual customer and generate repeat orders, music, every time they run a promotion. Success strategy. Peak season dates, Valentine's Day, Christmas, graduations, Mother's, Music Day are where most of the demand is concentrated. Plan your materials inventory several weeks, music ahead of those dates, so you don't lose sales by running out of supplies. Number 13. Sublimation machine with heat press. Music. This is the cheapest entry point in the whole block into the personalization business. It costs between $80 and $400 FOB for a complete music kit. How to start. Offer personalized t-shirts and mugs to your close circle first, family, co-workers, neighbors, music. To perfect your technique without the pressure of a stranger as your customer, and use for music those first pieces as catalog samples. How to scale. Connect with youth sports teams, churches, and parent associations that constantly need t-shirts or mugs for events and fundraisers. They're repeat music buyers, not one-time customers. Success strategy. Offer team packages with a volume discount, 10 or more matching t-shirts. This lets you close big sales all at once instead of relying on small individual sales.
Number 14. Single-head computerized embroidery machine. It costs between $1,500 and $4,000 FOB. It lets you embroider logos onto hats, uniforms, and work clothes. How to start? Visit or call music mechanic shops, restaurants, and small clinics in your area directly, offering to embroider their logo onto their existing uniforms. Music, a service they almost always outsource because there's no one local to do it. How to scale? Once you have 3 or 4 steady music business clients, offer a uniform maintenance contract. Every time they hire new staff, you embroider the new uniform, turning a one-time sale into recurring monthly income. Success strategy. Save the digitized designs for each client. The second time they ask for the same logo, the job goes much faster, and your margin per piece goes up considerably. Number 15. Small sheet metal bending, music, and cutting machine. It costs between $1,000 and $3,000 FOB for manual or semi-automatic versions. Music. How to start? If you already have experience in construction or workshops, offer your services first to small contractors. Music, fabricating specific pieces they need for their projects instead of buying them pre-made at a higher price. How to scale? Develop 2 or 3 standardized products, metal signs for businesses, brackets, common duct pieces that you can manufacture ahead of time and have ready for immediate sale. Music, instead of relying only on custom orders that take more time. Success strategy. Durability is your best selling point against plastic alternatives. Communicate that clearly with every piece you deliver, because that's what justifies a higher price. Number 16. Mini desktop injection molding machine. It costs between $2,000 and $5,000 FOB. It lets you manufacture small plastic pieces in large quantities. How to start? Identify a single spare part or accessory that's hard to find on its own.
You'll often find these by asking in forums or music hobbyist groups for a specific hobby, model building, electronics, gardening, and manufacture a first small
Batch to validate whether there are real buyers before investing in additional molds. How to scale? Once a product is validated, listed on your own online store or on a platform like Etsy or Amazon, and reinvest music, the first profits into a second mold to diversify your catalog. Success music strategy. The biggest cost in this business isn't the machine, it's the mold for each new piece. That's why it's better to stick with a few well-selling products. Music, instead of manufacturing many different products with low demand each. Number 17. Candle making machine, automatic or semi-automatic pourer. Music. A tabletop machine costs between $300 and $1,200 FOB. How to start? Develop 3 or 4 scents and packaging designs before selling anything, and test them with your close circle to figure out which ones sell best before producing music in larger quantities. How to scale? Once you have a proven catalog, look for consignment deals at local boutiques, spas, or music gift shops, which already have the type of customer willing to pay more for a well-presented handmade product. Success strategy. Candles sell on story and scent, not just wax. Invest time in a label, music, and packaging that communicate made by hand with care, because that's what justifies a sale price several music times higher than the production cost. Number 18. Soap making machine, cutter and mixer. It costs between $400 and $1,500 music in FOB for small equipment. How to start? Pair this business with the candle business from the previous number from day one, because they share the same customer, the same sales channel, and even the same local craft fairs, which saves you from duplicating your validation work. Music. How to scale? Offer gift sets, combining a candle and a soap for specific occasions. Mother's Day, Christmas, baby showers. Music, which raises your average ticket without needing a new customer for each product. Success strategy. Highlight natural or local ingredients. Music, if you use them. Honey from nearby producers, regional oils.
That kind of detail has become a real differentiator against generic chain store soap. Number 19, semi-professional resin or filament 3D printer. It costs music between $300 and $1,500 FOB. How to music start? Look in Facebook or Reddit groups for board game, cosplay or model building hobbyists. Music. These are communities that are constantly looking for custom pieces and are willing to pay for them without you having to convince them of the idea from scratch. How to scale? Once you've mastered a niche, offer print-on-demand service to small inventors or local entrepreneurs who need prototypes, charging music by piece and by design complexity. Success strategy. Print time is your main limiting factor, not material cost. Music. That's why it makes sense to charge based on the hours the machine is tied up on your order, not just the plastic used. Number, music 20, vinyl cutting and engraving machine, cutting plotter. Music. It costs between £200 and £800 FOB. How to start? Offer decals and storefront signs to small music local businesses that still have handmade or outdated signage. It's a visible immediate improvement that any business owner can appreciate instantly. How to scale? Combine this machine with a heat press from number 13 to offer a complete basic branding service, t-shirts, decals, signs, to small businesses, music that are just starting out and need several brand elements at once. Success strategy. Offer an image refresh package at a flat price instead of charging music for each piece separately. It simplifies the customer's buying decision and raises your music average ticket.
Block 3, Services and Maintenance. Here, the businesses no longer manufacture something and sell it, music, but rather offering a recurring service where the machine is your work tool, not the product itself. Number 21, Portable Industrial Pressure Washer for mobile car wash, deck, music, and house washing businesses. It costs between $300 and $900 for OB. Music. How to start? Offer your first month at a promotional price door-to-door in your own neighborhood, where initial trust is easier to earn and word of mouth travels fast among neighbors. Music. How to scale? Once you have a base of 15 or 20 repeat clients, offer monthly or quarterly maintenance packages. Music deck washing every 3 months, for example, to lock in predictable income instead of relying on one-off jobs. Success strategy. Before and after photos are your best sales tool on local social media. The visual transformation sells far better than any written description of the service. Music. Number 22, upholstery and carpet cleaning machine, hot water extraction. Music. It costs between $600 and $2,000 FOB. How to start? Partner with moving companies or local real estate agents who constantly music have clients who need deep cleaning before moving out or before showing a property. How to scale? Music. Expand the service to car upholstery cleaning, a related niche where you can use the same machine and charge per job at auto detailing shops that don't offer that specific service. Success strategy. Offer a satisfaction guarantee. If you're not happy, I'll come back at no charge. In cleaning music services, that guarantee greatly reduces a new customer's initial resistance to trying a new provider. Number 23. Music floor polishing and buffing machine. It costs between £400 and $1,200 FOB. How start?
Contact Music, small shopping centre or office plaza managers directly offering an after-hours maintenance service that doesn't interrupt normal business operations during the day. How to scale? Turn the initial contract into a music fix monthly agreement and use that first contract as a reference to approach similar buildings in the same area or under the same management. Success strategy. Recurring music contracts are worth more than one-off jobs in this business. Always prioritize closing a monthly agreement over a single job, even if the immediate payment is smaller. Number 24. Portable Industrial Air Compressor. It costs between $200 and $700 FOB. How to start? Figure out which of the micro-businesses it can power. Mobile tire inflation, airbrush painting, pneumatic tools for mobile mechanics. Best matches a skill you already have and start with that specific service instead of trying to offer all three at once. How to scale. Once you've mastered one service, the same compressor lets you add the next one with no additional investment in the base equipment, just in the accessories specific to each new service. Success strategy. Fast response time is your competitive edge against fixed shops. Music. Make it clear that you show up same day, because that's what the customer is willing to pay extra for. Number 25. Portable tire balancing and alignment machine. It costs between $1,500 and $4,000 FOB. How to start. If you have prior mechanical experience, start by offering the service to your circle of contacts, co-workers, family, local car groups on social media before investing in paid advertising. How to scale. Once demand is validated, consider partnering with small mechanic shops that don't offer this specific service, offering to do it for them as a subcontractor whenever they need it, generating a steady client channel without having to find them one by one. Success strategy. The convenience of not losing half a day at a shop is the main selling point. Always emphasize the time the customer saves, not just the price of the service. Block 4, recycling, agriculture, and specific niches. This last block groups together less obvious opportunities, but ones with less competition, precisely because almost nobody is looking at them. Number 26. Small cardboard shredder and baler. It costs between music $500 and $1,800 FOB. How to start. Approach small e-commerce businesses or local businesses that receive a lot of boxed product, offering to pick up their cardboard for free, or even paying them a small amount, since you make your income reselling the processed music material to recycling centers. How to scale. Once you have several established pickup routes, negotiate a direct contract with a higher volume recycling center to get a better price per ton music instead of selling in small amounts. Success strategy. Consistency in pickup schedules is what keeps your clients. A business that knows you'll come by every Tuesday and Friday has no reason to look for another provider. Number 27. Cold press oil extractor machine, screw press. It costs between $300 and $1,000 FOB. How to start. Pick a single type of oil with already proven demand in your area. Coconut or avocado tend to work well, and sell the first batches directly to people you know and at natural product markets before investing in packaging at a larger scale. How to scale. Once the product is validated, look for shelf space at natural foods or organic stores on consignment where the customer is already willing to pay more for an artisanal cold, music-pressed product. Success strategy. Clearly communicate the cold-pressed, no chemicals process on your label. That's exactly the kind of detail this niche's buyer is looking for, and it's what justifies a premium price over generic supermarket oil. Number 28. Small-scale automatic egg incubator. It costs between £100 and $500 FOB for models holding 50 to 200 eggs. How to start.
If you live somewhere with backyard space, start by selling broiler chickens or laying hens directly to neighbors and people you know before looking for wider markets, validating first that local demand exists. And add music. How to scale. Once you have a stable production cycle, offer weekly fresh egg subscriptions. Music to families in your area, generating recurring income instead of sporadic sales. Success strategy. The naturally raised no chemicals angle has become increasingly valued by buyers looking for alternatives to industrial production. Lean on that to set yourself apart from the supermarket. Number 29. Commercial food dehydrator machine. It costs music between £500 and $1,500 FOB. How to music start. Pick a single starting product, beef jerky for its high margin or dried fruit for how easy it is to produce, and perfect the recipe and packaging before diversifying into more flavors or product types. How to scale. Once you have a stable product, look for distribution at small health food stores or gyms where the customer for protein and natural snacks already exists and is willing to pay more. Success strategy. Music.
The long shelf life of these products lets you sell online nationwide, not just locally,
So consider an online store on an e-commerce platform from an early stage in the business. Music. Number 30. The most important one on the list. Semi-automatic vacuum sealing machine with thermal sealing. Why is it the most important? Music. Because it isn't a business on its own. It's the piece that multiplies the value of almost all the other 29. It costs between 150 and 600 FOB. How to start? Music. If you already have any of the other 29 businesses on this list up and running, this is the music next logical investment, no exceptions, because it improves the presentation and shelf life of practically everything you produce. How to scale? Offer vacuum sealing services to other small local producers who don't have the machine.
Candle makers, soap makers, food producers, charging per piece or per batch, turning your investment into a second income stream on top of your own product. Success strategy. A well-packaged product can sell for 20% to 40% more than the same product without professional packaging, according to packaging studies cited by food industry publications. That price difference, multiplied across every product you sell, is a good patch. Music is the real reason why this machine is the last one, and the most important one, on the entire list. I want to pause for a second here, because when I started researching this topic years ago, I made a mistake I see repeated constantly in the comments and messages I get. Something music like, I'm going to buy the cheapest machine I can find and figure out what to do with it later. A lot of people buy without first researching whether there's real demand nearby in their city, without properly calculating shipping costs, music. And it ends up sitting in storage for months, collecting dust, while they keep paying rent on that space without making a single dollar back. Pity. The lesson I learned, and that I repeat in almost every one of my videos because I genuinely believe it, the right order isn't buy the machine, then look for clients. Music. The right order is find the problem people are already paying to solve, then buy the machine that solves it. Morgan Housel explains this well in his book, Same as Ever. People don't change as much as we think, and the businesses that work are the ones that solve a constant human need. Eating something good, looking good, saving time, feeling taken care of. Not the ones that depend on a passing trend that fizzles out in a few months. That's why you'll see more food, music, and basic service machines on this list than tech novelties. Those are the ones that survive once the TikTok trend cools off, and people, music still need exactly what they needed 10 years ago. There's something else I learned that I want to share with you straight up. The fear of doing it wrong holds music back more people than lack of money does. Over the years, I've talked to dozens of people who had exactly the $500 or $1,000 needed to start with any of these machines, but spent months, sometimes years, researching a little more without ever making the decision. And I get the caution, especially music, if you've spent years working hard for every dollar you've saved. But the only way to know if a business works in your specific area is to test music, it at a small controlled scale, not stay stuck forever in researching a little more. 4 mistakes that sink this business, music, before it even starts. Before we get to the close, I want to give you something almost no other video on this topic, music mentions. The specific mistakes that make someone lose money, not because of the machine, but because of how they handle it. First mistake, music. Ignoring the total cost and only looking at the FOB price. I mentioned this earlier, but it's worth repeating because it's mistake music number 1. The price you see on Alibaba is just the starting point. If you don't add up freight, insurance, customs duties and processing fees, music, you're going to think you have more margin than you actually do, and you'll set sale prices that don't even cover your real cost. Music. Second mistake, buying the cheapest version of a machine that needs to run every single day. There's a huge difference between a machine built for occasional home use and one built for daily commercial use. If you're going to use the machine as the main tool of your business, it's worth paying a little more for the heavy-duty version, because a machine that breaks down after 2 months ends up costing you more in repairs and lost customers than what you saved by buying the cheaper option. Third mistake, not checking local regulations before operating. This applies especially to the food block machines. Many counties and cities in the United States require health permits or mobile vendor permits before you can sell prepared food. Music, even from a cart or a table at a farmer's market. Look into this in your specific county before investing in any machine from Block 1, because music, the permit, usually costs way less than the machine, but without it, you can't legally operate. Fourth mistake, treating the first music sale as the end of the process instead of the beginning. The real business isn't in selling once, it's in getting that first customer to come back, refer you, or leave a good review that attracts music the next one. That means it's worth investing a little time, not necessarily money, in music, asking for reviews, taking photos of your finished work, and keeping a small presence on local social media, even if it's modest music at first. To close, I want you to see the difference between two ways of approaching this exact same information. Music. Through two people I know. Daniel is 43 years old, works in logistics, and saw a video like this one a year ago. He picked machine number 11, the small laser cutter, but instead, music of buying it right away. He spent 2 weeks first asking in local Facebook groups whether their music was demand for personalized signs and engraved gifts for weddings and events. Once he confirmed there was music, because several people messaged him asking about prices before he even had the machine, he imported the equipment through a verified supplier. Music calculated the total cost properly before paying. And today, 12 months later, he brings in an extra $800 to $1,500 a month. Music prefers working weekends and a few nights after his full-time job. He hasn't quit his job. He has no immediate plans to, but that extra income let him, as Music, he told me, stop relying on his credit card for unexpected expenses for the first time in years. Alex is 41 years, music old, and saw the same kind of content around the same time. He bought one of the most expensive music UV printers on the list without first checking whether there was demand in his area, thinking the most expensive machine must be the one that makes the most money. 6 months later, he'd sold barely a handful of products to family and friends, almost all at favor prices rather than real market prices. The machine is still sitting in his garage, barely used, and the money he paid in freight and customs duties, which wasn't small because it was a big heavy machine, still, music, hasn't been recovered. The difference between Daniel and Alex wasn't the amount of money they had to invest, music. It wasn't luck either, or the exact timing of when they imported their machine. It was the order of their decisions. Music. Daniel validated first and bought after. Alex bought first and validated too late. Music after. That, honestly, is the difference between almost everyone who manages to music, turn this into real income, and the ones who end up with an expensive machine sitting in a corner of the garage. If you made it this far, you already, music, have something most people who only watch the title of the video will never have. The complete list. How to start each business with low risk, how to scale it once it's up, music, and running, and the specific mistakes to avoid so you don't lose money along the way. Music. All that's left is for you to pick one. Validate the demand in your area for a couple of weeks like Daniel Music did, and move forward with a clear plan instead of buying blind like Alex did. Music. And I want to leave you with one more thing before I go. You don't have to decide today. You don't need to have all the money saved up, music, right this moment. What I do recommend is that you don't let this information stay at just, interesting.
And music, the way it happens with so many videos we watch and forget within minutes. At the very least, save this video, write down the number of the machine that caught your attention, music the most, and dedicate this week to asking that first question in some local group in your area. That small first step is almost always the difference between staying stuck with just the idea and actually starting to build something real. If this video helped you, give it a like, because that's what tells the algorithm to keep showing this kind of content to more people, and subscribe if you want more content like this. Let me know in the comments what topic you want me to cover in the next video. I'm David, and I'll see you in the next video.